Hmm. Yeah, let's begin the second side story of trust. Another day passes in a flash and it's already time for the next club meeting. I guess this is a generalized perspective. Although Monica should have come up with a plan for today's club tasks, she hasn't been able to shake her guilt and anxiety after reading Sayori's poem. I'm so stupid, as long as you can acknowledge that. How did I let myself be the center of attention? Sayori is going through these kinds of feelings and I'm letting her comfort me instead of the other way around. To be fair, you did kind of read something you shouldn't have. What kind of club president does that? One who's nervous and needs to understand that you are still a human being just as much as Sayori is. You both should have a symbiotic relationship where you both help each other. This whole time, I didn't think to ask her about her own feelings. So much for the stupid vision. Sayori enters the club room with her usual smile. But upon seeing the downcast Monica, her smile quickly fades into an expression of concern. Monica? Is everything okay? I'm really sorry. I'm such a terrible friend. Huh? What are you talking about? Amazing friend. Monica shakes her head. I personally don't think you understand. I made this all about myself. Even you said so yesterday. You told me I'm trying to make the club that I need the most, right? But my problems are so trivial compared to yours. Sayori responds quietly. What are you talking about? But as she says that, her face darkens. Through the silence, Sayori mutters her realization. I left my folder here. Monica stares blankly ahead, unable to come up with a response. I wasn't ready to share those. Now you're worrying about me. I don't want that. You see, these two, especially with this story, have a very toxic mentality about themselves. Not about anything else. But why? We're friends, right? Because they're too scared of what other people may think about them. Wordlessly, Sayori nods. Friends look out for each other. I want to be here for you as much as you're here for me. Another long moment passes in silence. The air is incredibly heavy. This is different. It wasn't just about you yesterday, it was about the club. Besides, things were so happy yesterday. You don't need to do this all of a sudden. I don't want it. I like happy, so if you do this, being selfish. Monica massages her forehead, struggling with the frustration of such a paradox. This is kind of a tough situation Monica's in. How could you genuinely be happy actively knowing the suffering of another person, especially one that you care about so deeply? It's understandable that Sayori isn't ready to share certain things, but as unfair as it is for Monica to pry, it's also painful for Monica to force herself to ignore the needs of her friend. I'm sorry I looked. I disrespected your privacy. No, I don't blame you for looking. You would have at least needed to check if it was mine. Yeah. Monica takes a deep breath. Okay, I understand that you don't want me to worry, and I think I'll be able to put this aside so we can move on. But can you promise me something? Promise you what? Monica pauses to collect her thoughts. This is the literature club. It's a place where people can express themselves in the ways that life normally doesn't allow them to. That's the vision. In fact, it's our vision. Yeah, this is a shared experience now. Right the way into your heart, or whatever. Monica still lacking confidence, so I just want you to promise that you'll remember that too. It doesn't have to be right now, but sorry, it's that time of the day where my dog is very active. But I want to be here for you when you need it. I want us to be like what? I want us to be ourselves like that. Sari smiles gently. I promise if you promise. It's weird. Unable to help it, Monica returns Sari's smile. I promise. Me too. Oh, well, I couldn't even. Apparently, I'm not accentuating any way to differentiate the characters. As the conversation closes, the mood in the room is lifted. I don't know, it's kinda painful. With that behind them, it's time to proceed with club activities that won't exist for the rest of the game. So, want to teach me about poetry? Damn, the soundtrack's a banger. Huh? But what about recruitment? It's fine, we have plenty of time for that. But right now, I feel like I want to do this. This may be a good chance to deepen the bonds of the characters. This is actually, I didn't say this as much as I should have. But Sayori's impact on the story is noticeable because of how much the story changes when she's not around. I mean, I do have to fulfill my end of the promise, you know? Nah, haha. There's no way I could say no to that. Just, don't expect much. Sayori, have more confidence in yourself. You're an amazing writer when you want to be. I do a lot of writing, but it's not like I'm a scholar or anything. Be amazed at your own mind. That's fine. I think I just need like some motivation. I never know where to start when it comes to writing poems. Starting isn't so hard. You kind of just need to write down your feelings and see where it takes you. The journey of writing. You have to let your mind be free. Yeah, but that wouldn't come out any good. Wouldn't it? Monica, have confidence, please. It's not supposed to be. You're gonna have to fight your perfectionist mind on this one. You can just start by writing your feelings and see what kind of things that makes you think of. Then you can turn your feelings into a little story. You can get your feelings down first and then make it sound pretty later. It's not like building a railroad. What? It's not like building a railroad where you go from one end to the other. Oh, I get it now. It's more like a collage where you find all the things that you want to put in and you arrange them in a pretty way. At least that's how I do it. And it's not like it's the only way. Yeah, I'm surprised Monica hasn't taken a further look into other styles of poetry. Not that it matters, because this kind of feels like fluff. I hate to say it, but it kind of feels forced here. But it's a really good way to not get stuck right at the beginning. I understand. Yeah, always get so caught up in how it sounds I forget about what's actually important. Monica pulls out a pen and paper to start writing on. Stop being a perfectionist, you idiot. I'm just kidding. Monica scribbles out, you idiot, after she writes it down. No, keep it. What? Why? Are you calling me an idiot? Wow. Wow, getting hostile already, Monica. Of course not, I am. But the point is that you're not supposed to police your feelings, right? Be as dramatic as you want. You can accept your own flaws. You can... There is no perfect when it comes down to being a human being. Your flaws are what make you unique. But I was just... Well, yeah. Underneath the scribble, Monica rewrites, you idiot. She stares at the paper. Her words stare back at her. It's kind of funny how I wrote down what I'm mad at myself for, and then I did the exact same thing anyway. This is really going to take some getting used to. But I actually like this aspect as well. It's not like you adapt to the changes within you immediately. You have to get used to this sort of stuff. I believe in you. Thanks, I do too. I mean. But also you, of course. Monica continues to exercise. Jotting down her thoughts. It's surprisingly quite a struggle to write out without overthinking it. But after a while, with Sayori's guidance and encouragement, Monica's sheet of paper begins to look fairly lively, peppered with all of her random thoughts. Phew. Don't worry, Monica. I have a similar problem. It's not writing. It's I want to draw, but like I struggle. So I guess like be happy. I'm kidding. You can only get better by constantly improving. I currently just repeat the same exercises, like to get it in me, to get the exercises right. Phew. Monica looks up and down at her sheet. Gosh, I feel so tense looking at this. I hate it, but it's also kind of liberating. I can tell that how hard you're trying. It makes me happy. I think you'll be good at writing poems. Don't give me too much credit. I'd have to try really, really hard at it. And there's nothing wrong with... There are different types of people, and some people will have this belief that if you're trying too hard at something, then there's no point. If it's not easy, then there's clearly something wrong, but that's just a flawed mentality in my mind. Try and try, and one day you'll finally see the results you're looking for. You see, I'm practicing drawing while doing this because in reality this is a motivator. But I think it's something I'll end up enjoying with you. Sayori beams. I'll stop here, but we still have time. Let's try and work on a new flyer for the club. I won't be so picky about the language. Yeah, let's do it! I actually enjoy this. Like, this more positive, more happy part. Because everything was so miserable. And I know I criticized this, especially in the first half. Monica really didn't get a chance to flourish as a character. And in reality, it's what holds her at 3rd place in my character tier list. Though, actually, if I were to do a proper tier list, you'd have to separate the 2 versions. Because there's actually, like, a couple of different versions of the same characters. Like, Sayori after Monica's removed is, like, bad. Every version of Yuri is terrible. The main character is, like, only just barely better than Yuri. And Natsuki, fuck. Like, watching her storyline and then comparing it to both of Yuri's, it's actually so, like, miserable. But in a way, it's kind of ironic because Natsuki doesn't inherently, in the first storyline where there's very little, like, influence apart from, like, the obvious for Monica. Natsuki doesn't hold an ideal that she rejects like every other character. Monica rejects her friends because, well, if she accepted them, she might not suffer so much, but then she would suffer. But in reality, she'd be suffering more. She'd be telling herself she's not suffering because she's the only person who doesn't get her own story. Because of Monica's action, Sayori rejects everyone else in a sense that no one is allowed to make. No one is really allowed to, what's the word I'm looking for? To care for her. That's what I'm looking for. I was looking for something more advanced, and then went, you know what, I'll just go for care. Because it for her, it's the most painful thing seeing others care for her. Yuri rejects being a normal human being. Well, no. In the end, it's a story about rejection. Everyone rejects all the other characters because if they accept each other, flaws and all, then there wouldn't be such a miserable ending. Everyone would be happy. The only person who doesn't really have this rejection is Natsuki. Of course, she rejects the main character, but that's out of fear of being rejected even further, proven in Yuri's storyline. If you just constantly side with Yuri, Natsuki she doesn't get close. She doesn't even attempt to because she's scared. Monica and Sayori proceed with their work. And it's because of this idea that I think it's a good thing that Natsuki doesn't get her own story in the same way that Monica or Yuri or Sayori do. Because Natsuki herself doesn't properly reject an ideal like the other characters do. With each passing day, the two of them become more confident in the club. Like, how do I want to put this? Yuri is unlikable in every, like, version of the game. And if you choose Yuri's storyline for, just like the base before everything resets, the main character just goes, oh, I don't care about Natsuki. Natsuki doesn't mean anything, blah, blah, blah. The game, like, fucking constantly shits on Natsuki. And despite this, Natsuki still manages to be a character that's likable. Not due to how much she has to suffer, and yet can still stand for every other character. It was actually, like, so heartbreaking reading Natsuki's, like, plea for help from for the main character, because fucking Yuri says some genuinely terrible things about the only likable character, and despite this, Natsuki still wants to help Yuri. It's how you write a character who constantly has to suffer and is so scared of an extra at someone else bullying them. Anyway, not simply from their recruitment planning, but from their vision as well. As their bond strengthens, so does the essence of the literature club. Finally, they begin to feel it's only a matter of time before they find more members. And I'm really, like, looking forward to a version of this story that isn't quite so miserable. Another day passes. As usual, Monica is the first one to the club room, which will be ironic when that changes. With her is a printout of the revised Literature Club flyer, complete with the all-new ideas Monica and Sayori came up with. If only this was the flyer we gave to that one reading girl the other day. It's so much more attractive than the old one, but the new catchphrase is featured clearly in the center of the flyer. Write your way into your heart. Surely common sense that would say that one writes from the heart and not into the heart. Well, no. A writer writes into someone else's heart, and they write from their own heart. So, depending on how you're advertising the literature club, you're advertising the literature club as a place where you write into another person's being. But the message being delivered is that one can use writing to discover themselves. Hopefully, Monica and Sayori had thought that that would be enough to garner some curiosity from students. Why do I look so tense looking? Why do I feel so tense looking at this? I'd still suck at speaking English. Monica thinks back to the previous meeting when she performed the writing exercise. Was I always this bad at expressing myself? How am I supposed to be president if I can't demonstrate what this club is supposed to be about? Monica, have confidence. Your idea is vague, so you will grow with the club. The thing about life is that you are always developing. The you of today will be different from the you of tomorrow, and the you of yesterday is one that has made mistakes that the you of today will learn from. That is the truth of life. The literature club is truly beginning to take form, but with that, the weight on Monica's shoulders only becomes heavier. The bait club was about rigid structure, formulating airtight points and counterpoints, and delivering them with conviction. It was about the person on the outside. That's why Monica was good at it. It existed entirely within her realm of comfort. It's suffocating. I need to break through this mental wall. I need to learn to express myself. For real. Monica pulls out a sheet of paper and grabs her pen. She presses the tip of the pen firmly against the paper. But her hand doesn't move. Oh man. Instead, a tiny blot of ink collects around the tip of her pen. I guess some of the smaller points in the story will be brought up here. Monica lifts her pen and stares at the little blotch. For some reason, she feels compelled to run her fingers across it. It's actually like really telling. As she does, the black ink smears across the paper, ruining Monica's canvas. Out of spite for herself, Monica presses her pen down once more, letting the ink collect. She creates a second smear on the paper. Come on, Monica. You're trying to force it, Monica. You have to let yourself be free. You are fighting two different ideals for yourself. One that is perfect, the one that you show to everyone else, and the terrified version of you that doesn't know what it wants to be, that longs to be free but doesn't understand what its own freedom is. Just move your hand, Monica writes. This is what I get for seeking perfection. A stain. Monica slides the paper away from her and puts her head down on the desk. The air conditioner seems louder today. I'm here. Hi. Monica hears Sayori approach her desk, then stop for a second, probably reading the piece of paper. Then she sits down in the adjacent desk. Bad day? It's actually, Me too. You too. The new flyer looks so good. You've been working so hard on the club, but also on something else, I think. I can't do it. I'm sorry. It's so hard to just be vulnerable. Sayori takes the sheet of paper from Monica's desk. She writes something down, then stares at it for a while. Can I trust you? Of course, you can trust me with anything. Sayori gazes at Monica with sadness in her eyes. Understanding the signal, Monica takes the paper from Sayori's desk and reads it. Sometimes I want to die. It's sad that's how Sayori feels. Unfortunately, I wish that I could say that, well, I don't really have life advice for this one. I related to it a lot with just this line. I spend a lot of time hating myself. Maybe that's where wisdom comes from. Not the having of knowledge, but the lack of knowledge. What does that mean? Well, no, I'm not gonna get into that one. But sometimes you only see the truth when you step back. Sayori, this is really, really hard for me. Her voice shakes. So if I can do it, then you can too. Because you're like a million times better than me. Never put yourself down. Do not compare yourself to someone else because you are two completely different people. Your strengths and weaknesses, the people that you are. You can admire someone for their strengths, but don't sell yourself short. You'll always be special. That's completely not true. Sayori takes a deep breath, trying to steady herself. That's something about me I've never told anyone before. Even now, my head is like just screaming at me to stop. Wait, you don't have to force yourself. I mean, just because of the promise yesterday. I want to. Sometimes just having someone you care about, trust, having someone know that that's the way you feel, it just feels right. It could be the very thing that saves you in the end. I mean, maybe it's part of the reason I came to this club in the first place. This is the literature club. I trust you more than I'm scared. At those words, Monica stands up. Sayori must have taken days to work up the courage for this. Were Monica's own futile but genuine efforts actually the push that Sayori needed? Sayori's deliberate breaths can be heard over the air conditioner as she prepares herself to continue. Monica waits in gentle silence. I have this problem where I get really upset when people worry too much about me. I can't control it. It's like, why waste your energy worrying about me when you can be happy instead? So I never tell anyone about these kinds of thoughts that I have. It's so much easier to just smile and help everyone else be happy. But that's... It would be very painful. But that's what Monica wants to say, but she stops herself in fear of saying the wrong thing. It's just that if everyone knew about it, they wouldn't treat me the same anymore. Like, whenever I'm not smiling, everyone would worry about me and ask me what's wrong. In a way, that may be the worst part, where you want to be okay, but knowing that you're not, and other people knowing that you're not, can just make your pain worse. But having to deal with it on your own, Sayori really is in a lose-lose situation. I know that because it used to be like that. Sayori pauses, seeming to recall something in the past. I just want everyone to be happy. That's the most important thing to me. And letting people look inside my head doesn't bring happiness to anyone. That may be where you're wrong, Sayori. Sometimes genuine happiness is caring for those around us, bringing happiness to others like you do. Sometimes that's the truth of life. Sayori pauses again, her solemn expression making her look almost like an entirely different person. How did you find the courage to tell me this? You're not worried that I'll be one of those people too? I am worried, Part of me really hates myself for doing this. But another part of me, I think, just felt like it would be different this time. Whenever we talk about what the club is supposed to mean, I kept feeling like it was right for me to do. Especially after you've been trying so hard to express yourself too. It just made me feel like I could say it in confidence, and our friendship doesn't have to change. It's so silly. The club is only 2 people, but it already means this much to me. Monica feels a tightening sensation in her heart. A feeling of connection to Sayori's emotions radiates between them. Me too. I was so lost until you showed up. You're so brave, Sayori. So strong and brave. I don't even compare. Monica steps forward. But if nothing else, I can at least offer you some hug energy, if you'd like. Wordlessly and without a smile, Sayori rests her head on Monica's shoulder. Through their contact, Monica can almost feel the torrent of thoughts swimming in Sayori's head, and in this moment, enchanted by the air of the club, Monica realizes that of all the days that have passed, this is the one where she really, really hopes that nobody new walks through the door. She speaks softly. You're like the sweetest girl I've ever met. You can say anything, I'll never judge you, I promise. Sayori's breath begins to quiver. She takes several deep breaths, trying as hard as she can to start speaking, to say the things that she never once dared to say out loud. Finally, she speaks in a choked voice. I am so worthless. I'm worthless and everyone would be better off without me. She suppresses a sob as a tear falls down her cheek. I'm just an inconvenience to everyone. I'm not good at anything, and it feels like everyone just has to put up with me, and I hate it. I hate it. Yeah, I hate it as well. The fact that I can relate so accurately to Sayori is actually a really painful moment. The more Sayori speaks, the more she fails to control her voice, falling victim to the overwhelming sadness clutching her throat and chest. I don't want to have these thoughts. I want them to go away, and now making you put up with me, and I just want to die. As soon as Sayori loses her composure, Monica becomes determined to keep her own. She only wants to be what Sayori needs right now, so she won't let any sadness show. Her voice comes through as soft and gentle. This isn't putting up with you, it's just being your friend. Monica offers a few words of comfort, but she knows, Sayori said it herself, that the thoughts Sayori experiences are ones that don't belong, and Monica can't magically make them go away. I think this is the most painful part. The story that we see here is inevitably futile because we see what's going to happen. I actually hope these side stories give a happier ending to everyone. The most you can do is help Sayori battle them like any good friend would do. You have so much value to me and to your other friends too. This club wouldn't have been the same without you. Oh, that hurts even more because it's so true. I really, really mean that. You coming here was the best thing that could have ever happened. Even if we never got any other members, I'd still be happy. That's what you brought here. You brought us a vision, and you also brought happiness. And that's your favorite thing to do, right? Sayori doesn't respond, but Monica feels her gently nod. No more words are needed between them. The two share their embraces for a while longer, Monica letting Sayori take as much time as she needs. Once her breathing steadies and her sniffles finally cease, Sayori lifts her head and wipes her eyes. I guess I needed that. Some days are harder than others. Well, I'm here whenever you need me. But any other time, I'll make sure that things are the way they usually are. If that's what makes you happy. Thanks. You are the best. No, you are. The two exchange smiles. You know, I'm sorry to bring this up all of a sudden, but have you considered talking to a professional? Sayori nods. It's scary, since it's already so hard to tell people. Yeah, well, of course it will always be your choice. But if you're ever looking to find the courage for it, I can do my best to help you. Thanks. I think it helps knowing that you would. Sayori suddenly yawns and stretches. Wow, that made me tired. And hungry. Well, I won't make you do any work today if you're not up for it. No, I want to. I mean, I can say it's definitely one thing that makes me happy. Monica smiles. But I might want to get snacks first. All of a sudden, the sound of the door causes the two of them to turn their heads. The door opens halfway, then stops. A face peeks inside. A face that seems familiar. Ah, that was... If you've ever wondered why the ending to my streams, especially more recently, end with the words, I hope you know that you are loved, and a wish for something better for you, hope for your happiness, it is because I could relate a lot to Sayori. And it was only due to the people around me, those who genuinely cared for me, that I'd still have the energy to do what I do, even waking up. So while I end today's stream, letting you all know that I do love you all. Ouch. And that while tomorrow's stream may be a complete joke that might involve screaming, it depends what happens. You are important. And if you ever hate yourself, I won't do the standard, because everyone hears it, and in reality, hearing the words that I don't know how to put it. There was always something to live for. In the end, if you hate your life that much, put it off and don't do it. Because you don't know if the next place you'll be, if there even is a next place, will be a happier place. if you keep yourself here on this earth, you may find a person or a thing that brings you genuine happiness. So I guess I'll see you all on the next one. Bye bye.